You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey GH fans, Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we have got to talk about Drew Cain's attitude. It's quite ungracious about the return of his twin brother, Jason Morgan. Of course, lots of people in Port Charles are stunned as word of Jason's resurrection spreads, but Drew, for one, is not rolling out the welcome mat, and he throws a fit at Carly Spencer this week about it, and it looks like things go boom between them. Please click subscribe if you have not, and now let's talk about this imminent breakup. Since Jason's return, things have been hectic for him. He sabotaged the assassination attempt on Sonny Corinthos to save his life, and then he got shot saving Dante Falconeri, and now he's on the run. So after Jason did field triage on Dante, he stepped out of the way so that nobody would see him, and then he ran straight to Carly Spencer for a tear field reunion and some first aid of his own. I mentioned here before, and I think I need to say it again because people are still being snarky in the comments. The original return plot the old head writers wrote had Jason going to nurse Elizabeth Weber. Those writers were fired, and Elizabeth Corte took over and rewrote his return arc and decided he would run to Carly instead. Just an FYI. So the chatter from backstage is that the old writers' sloppy plot for Jason's return is what finally got them fired after a couple of years of what I felt like were mostly unsatisfactory, dragging, slow, painful storylines with more loose ends than a sweater hit by a ceiling fan. As longtime fans know, you should know. You've seen this stuff alongside me. So Carly patched up Jason. I mean, he's not 100%, but it seems more likely that it's a flesh wound because she kind of took care of it on the couch and he was doing okay enough to make it to the bridge and then dive over. However, he's not doing as well on the most recent episode. Looks like his injury is finally getting to him, or the blood loss. And of course, Anna Devane figured out Jason would run to Carly, and she's right. But we do know, of course, Jason got away from her house before the FBI and the PCPD could do a thorough search. And then Jason was found on the bridge by Anna and Jagger, and then he dived over. So that takes us into word spreading that Jason's on the loose. He is suspected of shooting Dante. And of course, then Drew Cain hears that his brother is back, and he's going to find out Carly gave him shelter and first aid, and Drew is going to come unglued. So what I wonder is whether Drew will admit the real reason he's upset. On Tuesday, Drew confronts Carly Spencer about her recent actions. We have Drew Cain spiraling since he got out of Pentonville. He seems mostly traumatized by the beating that almost killed him, and he wants to blame that beating on Nina Reeves. And at the risk of being attacked by some of you in the comments and called a Nina lover, I do have to remind you that the beating had nothing to do with his sentence for insider trading. Carly brought Sonny to the prison, if you recall, and he asked Drew to poke around and get information on who the flash drive of fake information about him was delivered to. If anybody is at fault for that beating, it is first of all Drew for agreeing to go ask questions, Sonny for asking him to ask questions, and third, Carly for condoning the whole thing by bringing Sonny there. Just all I'm saying. Drew started asking questions, and that's what got his ass kicked. It was nothing to do with Nina, and I can 100% agree that Nina was being a petty bee when she called the stock cops on Carly and Drew. But before that, Carly shouldn't have done what she did, trying to manipulate stock prices to help arty, wealthy people do better. That little stunt, remember, bankrupted the family that was suing Finn under false pretenses. Anyway, Drew is so focused on his Nina vendetta because he feels like him almost dying from that beating in prison is on her. And Carly told Drew she's not interested in being part of his vendetta. She gave him an ultimatum, and Drew agreed to back off Nina and just focus on living their lives. But Drew soon decides Carly is not living life the way that he thinks she should. I wonder just how hard he's going to lay into her when they start arguing about his brother Jason. I mean, we all saw how thrilled Carly was to see Jason alive and in her living room. She didn't even give a second thought to helping him, nor did she hesitate to lie to the cops. She will do anything to protect Jason Morgan. She risked arrest trying to keep the cops out of her house to give him time to get away. So I do suspect part of Drew's anger is about the risk that she took. You know, in his mind, he risked his life to go to prison so she didn't have to go to prison. But then here she is, risking her freedom, risking arrest, risking prison to put herself between Jason and the law. And she'd do it time and time again. I don't think Drew believes Jason is innocent. I think instead he might be quick to jump to the conclusion that his twin brother did indeed take that near lethal shot at Dante. Remember, Drew and Jason were not raised together, so they are just missing that bond that many twins have. So, you know, they're never going to be bowling buddies or best brothers, but I do recall them making an effort just before Jason died. They were working on, I think, a tree house on the Quartermain property for all the kids, but I just can't imagine the twins picking up where they left off. And on Tuesday, Drew is throwing a fit at Carly for helping Jason. And Drufus has decided to assume the worst of his twin, and that infuriates Carly. Drew seems so certain Jason shot Dante. Mind you, no one saw it, and someone did first aid on Dante before Dex and Jocelyn arrived. It's strange that everyone thinks the worst of Jason, even Anna, when he is her daughter Robin's very best good friend. And what's funny is Drew asked Carly if she believes Jason did it, and she says no. And then he asked did he deny it, and she said no. She is just on the default assumption that he did not do wrong. So I'd already figured from the moment we heard about Jason's return that it was going to wreck Carly and Drew's relationship. But man, it's moving faster than I thought. Drew trash talking Jason really annoys Carly. She is not going to let anybody do that. And just there's not anything Drew can say to shake her faith in Jason. That scene to me where Jason was in her house and they saw each other said it all. They had a tearful reunion fraught with emotion, and now Drew's coming in hot making accusations on Jason. Carly is not going to listen. She's going to slap back. And when she admits, she usually puts Jason first, and she tells Drew honestly that she's going to probably keep doing it. He has enough. He said he's not going to stand for that. And guess what? Drew breaks up with Carly and walks out on her this week. Laura Wright said both she and Cameron Mathison were completely stunned when they read the breakup scripts, but she said it was also some of his best work. She called it very raw. So let's be real. Drew was only in Carly's life and in her bed because Jason was dead. If Jason Morgan were in town after Sonny and Carly split up and then he went to Nina, I feel very certain she'd have run right to Jason to rekindle those feelings they were exploring when they got married just before Sonny came back from the dead. I do give the new writer credit for pushing forward and just getting the Carly and Drew breakup out of the way, but it came fast. Stuff like this reminds me of what they did to Drew Cain the last time Steve Burton returned as Jason Morgan. Remember when Billy Miller was in the role? God rest his soul. He had been a great Jason, and then they created the Drew character when they lured Burton back from Young and the Restless. That was where he was last time. So they created Drew and then started sidelining him and not writing good stories for him. And eventually Billy Miller got tired of it and he left General Hospital. I feel like Cameron Matheson's now on sort of the same path because the writers are once again destroying one twin in favor of the other. I mean, Drew hasn't been likable in a while, and now we're seeing the culmination of it. And Drew's accusations about Jason are about more than just concern for Dante. They are because he's throwing a jealous tantrum, in my humble opinion. Watch and see. How long can Carly and Drew last after this ugly scene over Jason? Not at all. They're not even going to make it through that scene. Drew's going to dump her. Carly's going to be stunned. But hey, at least now she's free to take up all her time defending Jason. Wait to see how it goes. Please drop your comments if you haven't already, and definitely click subscribe and be sure and come back soon. We are here talking General Hospital 7 days a week, and as always, it's Belinda from Soap Dirt.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.